Hi everybody, welcome back to Maya Land. So I'm going to do a demo for you right now. We're going to talk about how to make a tire tread. So those of you that are making any type of working on the vehicle designs that we're doing right now outside of the block-in, which is we're going to do that same pass. I'm going to give you guys time to work. You're going to do a block-in. I'm going to do a draw over on your block-in, talk about the design. But before we even get there, let's talk about how to create tire tread. And there's a couple different approaches, as in all things in Maya. There's 10 different ways to do one thing, but this is the basic approach of how we're going to create a tire tread. Okay, we're going to take a long plane like this. Okay, so I created this plane from a base mesh shape. The base mesh shape, I believe, came with 20 subdivisions. It's going to look something like that. If I take that base mesh shape, and if I come over and if I go, almost dumped the scene there by accident. If I go over to animation and I go over to deformers and I'm going to create a deformer. So I'm going to come over here, go down here to nonlinear deformers. I'm going to create bend. Okay, do you see this? Bend is going to automatically throw itself right here in the middle of my shape. Why? Because my pivot's centered. That's huge for me, right? So if after I create that bend deformer, if I come over to bend and I go to curvature, see what's happening? It's not curving the way that I want it. So if I take that bend deformer and then I rotate that bend deformer at 90 degrees, so look, I'm going to grab here, I'm going to rotate it, checking over here in my outliner, there it is, excuse me, my channel box layer editor, there it is, it's 90. Now when I click on bend and go to curvature, look at what happens. See that? I can get that to connect, I can get that to touch, okay, and that's the basics of how you're going to make a tire. Okay, so I'm going to go over it a little bit more in detail. Now you might have to, you'll notice as I have this selected right here, the deformer, I have to get it really close. So it's at 3.1, so that's 3.15, it's at enter. And look, now it's overlapping a little bit. You see that line right there? So 3.15 is a little bit too much. So I'm going to bring it back down to like 3.4. And that's pretty much spot on. You see that? That line's right there. So all I have to do right now is go in and merge those vertices together, and it's one piece of geometry. You see how I did that? Okay. The importance of understanding that is because before we do that, we're going to take you back to this level here. We're going to make a tire tread pattern in there. And then once we bend it and connect it, then the last part is easy. The last part is coming in after it's connected here, and then just grabbing some of these edge loops and putting the round part, what I call the wall of the tire on. That's super easy. I mean, that's as easy as coming in here right now. If I were to say, give me a minute, let's go back to polygons. If I go to mesh, excuse me, I'm going to say select mesh. Let's go to edge loop ring, and if I double click right here, okay, that's not doing it. Hold on, it's the other selection option. Edge, which one did I do? Did the ring? I think it's loop there. Let's go. There we go. Okay, that's not doing it either. 1 second then. Select, come on. Oh, maybe it's edge. There it goes. So it selected that whole entire edge. It is selecting the area in the middle here. So if I don't want that, what I'm going to have to do is make sure I'm still on edges. Okay, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to deselect that. I'm just going to line up like this. And let's go deselect these right here. There we go. That wouldn't be there if I had, oops, I just made a mistake there. Give me a second, guys. I'm too busy talking here, not focusing. There, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm holding control. I'm just deselecting these edges. Because if I'm just showing you an example of what would happen. There, so now when I have these edges like this, see, all I have to do is use the scale tool. And if I start scaling in, see how I'm creating the body of the tire now? Okay. I'm having another a little issue right there. Ignore that down there. That's just happening because I haven't, the tire has the bend on it, and I need to delete the bend and the history and all that issue. But you understand the point here. Actually, let me do that real quick. Let's go back there. Let's delete the bend now. Now, if I delete the bend, what happens? Boom. It snaps back down, right? So I need to touch the geometry first. Edit, delete by type, history. Okay. Now that history is done, then I can come back over here and I can see where my vertices over here were sort of overlapping each other, right? I can select those right now. I have a hotkey to merge those vertices, so I'm going to do that really quick. So that way, I want to show you what happens when we go over to do the sidewalls. Because there was still, with the bend in there, it was acting up and being really iffy. There we go. So now when I look, if I click off of that, that's basically a tire. If I smooth it, see it's nice and round and pretty. Oops, something happened there where I must have moved a vertex. You know what? I know what that is. I missed that vertex there. There we go. There, now let's put it in smooth mode. Look at that, all nice, smooth, very nice. Okay, so to do the edge, you can either select, or I used to work with a guy who used to do this real quick. He used to come in here, he'd just line up on his vertices. He'd go like this, that easy, and then you'd come over here. The pivot's in the middle, right? So what I tried to do that didn't work last time is when I scaled down, it wasn't going center. Do you know why it wasn't going center? Because I still had the deformer in there and there's still history attached. It got all weird. So do you see how easy that was? Look, I just bring this down now. Look, I can make a customized tire. You know, I can make it one end in a little bit. I can bring this in, depending. Some of you guys are doing like a Mars rover style vehicle. You might have something very custom in the way the wheel looks. Might be soft on the outside, hard in the middle. Whatever it is you want to do, it's easy to do in the base poly mode. Now, if I'm just converting back to smooth it, you see how easy that is? In fact, look, I could even do this. I can come in here, hold control, deselect those vertices, and then I could come over here and I can move these vertices about where I want. And then the great thing about the selection opportunity, if I want to put more of a bump in there, or more of a hill, I could just come over here really quick and I could just hit select, go back to that edge loop. Let's do that again. Let's go to edges here, and there. So now by hitting select, it selected that whole edge loop for me, right? Which saves me a bunch of time. There it is in the rough mode. See, and I could scale that down and put that in the middle, and then when I smooth it, you see how cool that is? Just made a perfect little round tire there for me. Okay, saves me a lot of time in the work. Okay, now that's just the tire. I wanted to go over the basics. What's important before we get to this is your tread has to match up. Okay, so this is a part that might confuse you, but bear with me for a minute. And I actually did some of the homework for you really quick. Okay, I took that, remember that original mesh that was laying out there? I added 23 sections to it. So if I look at this, this is going to have 23 sections going across. So when I go to make tire tread, if you look like an all-terrain vehicle or a mud tire, let's say, okay, what I can do is I can go to face, and then I could come over here. Let's say I'm going to start with the outside ones, right? So let's say I'm going to do a row here, 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 there. 1 second, guys. Bear with me for a minute. Okay. Oops. Let's say this is my first pass of my tire design right there, right? Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to extrude. So I decided I'm going to, like, hey, I want to make a cool wedge shape. I'm going to pop those out real quick and see what that looks like. Now, it's in my best interest to think of two things. Am I going to have a tire that's going to be nice and rounded and more high res that has sharp edges? Or is my tire going to be going through a smooth selection? What would the difference be? Anyone? If I'm going to smooth that, I'm going to need more edges holding the corners to keep it nice square edge. Does that make sense? See, if I smooth it now, watch it go round. You see what it just did? That could work for you. It's up to you. That doesn't really look like too good of tires to me. I wouldn't buy those tires if they were all-terrain or mudders or mud terrain, right? So what I might do to keep that formation is watch. I extruded that. What if I barely pull that up a little bit? Now I extrude it again, pull it up a little bit. Now I'm going to extrude it again, pull it up just a teeny bit. Then I'm going to bring in that edge a little bit more like this and a little bit more like that. Now look at what happens when I smooth it. Aha! It's holding together a lot more. Okay? So you have an option. You need to decide. If you decide for some reason that you want to have a really distinct hard edge on your tire, then you might need to just do it as a rough model and make sure it's nice and smooth. It's more high res. But if you want to do it as like a nice smooth poly, you're going to have to get in there and really think about all those lines and cross sections that are going to hold those shapes together. Nothing wrong with either or. So but that's going to affect what I'm getting at here with all this is that's going to affect my workflow. So right here, you could see one of the problems is when I go to smooth it, the top is holding right here, but the bottom's not really holding. The bottom's going around like that. So how I could fix that, if I go in and if I were to add an edge loop in and put one right here and put one right here. Let me just show you on one sample. Okay. So you see how I put those edge loops in right there? Now when I go to smooth it, look. Okay. hold on. So now when I go to smooth it, it's not quite as round. It's holding together a little bit more. So those are things to think about when you're putting your tire together. You need to decide if you want to have it smooth or not. So I might even come back in here, get in here really close, and I'm just wondering what happens if I get another edge loop in there. Oh, I missed it. Where'd it go? Okay. Bam, I get another edge loop in there. And if I put another one in there, okay, maybe I decide to come in on this edge here and put one in there as well. Now when I go to smooth it, okay, it's still not really holding together like I wanted it to. Okay, see that? It's still a little bit round. So what I'm getting at with this is sometimes the smooth option isn't your best friend. It depends what type of tire you want to work on, and it'll take multiple passes, okay? I personally, when I look at tires and terrain, I like them to be sort of blocky, diamond shapes. And the great thing is that I can create that in here with Maya just by doing really simple extrusions, pushing shapes back in, and by doing this, by moving vertices. So if I might decide that on the tip of every one of these, I decide to move those vertices inward a little bit. So let's say I'm going to do half of this block first, like this, okay? I might decide with my particular design or tread that I have that I want to move all these edges like this. You see what I just did? By doing that, look at what it's doing to the tire. It's creating this cool tread pattern. Okay? That's just the beginning. I might then decide I want to come in where every one of those tread markers are, like that. I might decide to come into the middle here and expand it. So I might be able to come in here and say I'm going to take those vertices. See that? Right here, there's the next tread marker. I'm going to take those vertices. So there's the next tread marker right there. I'm going to take those vertices, okay? Now they're basically all the vertices lined up there, okay? Because you can see what happens when you're skipping, you're basically selecting them all in a row. But watch what I'm going to do here. I'm only going to do this to the lower section. Okay, I'm going to take all these. Now I'm going to expand these out a little bit like this. You see that? See, that's creating another type of pattern for my tire tread. By expanding all those out, then I might decide to come and say on every one of the ends, that's an end, that's an end, that's an end, that's an end, and this is an end right here. I can use the scale tool now, and I might decide to push those ends out and make them a little bit different. See how I did that? So that's how you start to create really cool, simple, fun patterns for tread. Okay, now here's the catch. I just do that really quick on this piece, okay? Watch what happens when I click on this. Okay, so watch. I'm going to take this piece right now, and I'm going to put a deformer on it. So I'm going to come back over here. Let's go back under the animation submenu. Let's go to create deformers. Let's go to nonlinear, and let's put, where'd it go? There it is. Let's put another bend on there. So I put that bend on there. Now I'm going to rotate my bend this way, like so. Okay, and put it exactly at 90. Okay, and then I'm going to come over to the bend. I'm going to go to the curvature setting, and I go to curve it. I'm going to curve it, obviously going that way, so the tread's popping outward, right? The problem is this. Do you see that? Where the tread's about to hit, it's not matching up. See, I had a start. I had a tread pop or extrusion open, tread extrusion open. You have to cycle that all the way through the tire to make sure when it connects on the other end, they're hooking up. And there's a couple ways that you can do that, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so that way it wouldn't work, right? Because look at how it's connecting. You'd have one long piece of tread here, and then you'd have an area. See that? These would connect. You'd have an open area, and then you'd have another area. That's not going to work. That's not going to look that right, okay? So that's one option. If that option doesn't work for you, there's another way to do that. Okay, so here's a real basic. I just took that area and I added one more to it. So if you see, that's 24 sections. Now if I come over here and if I select a face, let's try that again. There we go, Maya. That's weird. It's like selecting something else. I didn't tell it to select all those faces. 1, 2. Oh, what is Maya doing right now? Hold on, that's weird. You see it selecting? I didn't tell you to select anything. All right, hold on. I'm having an issue here. Let's go back to vertices. Let's Click off the object. My hotkeys are gone. There it goes. That's why there are 2 in there. Okay, now that's done. I'm going to come back here. So now if I come back and if I select, I did it again. That's really weird. I don't know why it's making that selection. Hold on a minute. Let me pause the recorder. Sorry about that, guys. I just had to restart Maya. It was totally wigging out. I don't know if you saw that, but I would touch one square and it would light up and select all the other squares, and I have no idea why. Now it's not doing that. So look, so this segment I added 24, right? So with 24 I have this now. If I go along here and select every other segment to create a tread, it's gonna make sense. It's gonna come together, because when I get down to the end here, by adding one more of those little segments, see I have an open space right there. Do you see how that makes sense? The only thing you have to think about is this. Okay, I'm gonna draw this visually with my hand. Is it, if your tread is doing this and then space and that, when you go to link it all the way around, if it links and the tread is angled like this and then the other connecting tread might be angled like that, you'd have to add another segment in then, and that's easy to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's super easy. So to add another segment, okay, you literally can just duplicate what you have that's all modeled and add one little piece over, attach the vertices as long as it's lined up, and then you attach the tire. But that's really key about bending that tire together. You know, when we take a look at this tire, it's in its rough format. You know, I didn't do any tread down the middle or anything else, but you're getting the idea of this won't work, and there's a reason why that won't work, right? Okay, when we come back here and look at that as our possible tire tread, I can put all kinds of patterns in there, shapes, I can do something round and whatever you want, but I know right now this is in 24 segments. 24 allows me, if I touch every other one, when they touch back, that'll leave an open middle space, okay? So, a little secret to that I was working on a show, and a buddy of mine, smart, he just said, hey, instead of doing all 24, what's 3 times 8? 24? So he took 1/3 segment of this, counted 8 spaces up, and he made himself a miniature little tire tread. Because then you're going to take that, duplicate it 3 times, attach it, and then you have one long piece of tire, put a curve on it, curve it back together, and then there's your tire. You're not going to have to go in and select every single square every time. In fact, it might be just, it's usually a good notation to yourself to duplicate that a couple times, because I've discovered in making a tire tread, you can spend a lot of time making the tread this way, because it's really long, right? You don't need to do that. All you need to do is come in here and start experimenting and just selecting different faces. What happens if you select, you know, what if you select a single row like this, okay? Then you decide to come in and select one whole row there. Use control. There you go, deselect there. And then in this one, maybe you take a space and then you decide to select the ones in the middle that are offset from these on the outside. You see that? Okay, and then you just extrude and have fun. You make different treads, look at them when they're smooth and not smooth, decide which one is working for you. It takes a couple attempts. You just don't nail down a good looking tire tread in one hit. The other thing I haven't even done is I haven't even figured out if I want to add on to this. And we talked about the length, what about the width? So as I go across this, let's say I want this whole row right here, right? And then I'm going to have, I have one less matching there, right? So I might need to delete one end right here. So now that I have all these done, so what I'm saying is I'm matching these. Okay, let's get these all matched. There they are. I have one row there I don't need because it's an offset number. Just delete it. We're working, at least we know 3 segments of 8 put together is 24. That goes round, and then you put it after the deformer on, it'll end together, right? So now I've discovered if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 will work going the other way. So, and it doesn't have to be 9. We could take 9 and multiply it times 2 and have 18 and have a really detailed tire tread. But I'm saying you don't have to do the whole entire tread. Just do one little section, do 1/3 of the tire tread. Okay, but you see how I worked backwards on that? Do 1/3 of the tire tread, make the one tread that you like, then duplicate it, make the length of it in 24, then put the deformer around it, and it's all done. Then you have one kick-ass tire. I'm trying to save you the time of having to go through and do it all by accident. So here, I'm going to take everything I have right here. I'm going to extrude. That's weird. It went to extrude and it went right to... So I'm going to pull some of that tread out there right now, and then I know I'm not going to need all this extra space here, so I'm just going to come in here, select those faces, boom, delete them. They're gone. So I'm now working off of a base tread. I can extend from the edge a little bit later or wrap that around if I want. It's up to you. In fact, if you prefer to start working like this and curving the sidewalls of the tire down, that's a personal choice. It's completely up to you. So if you decide to grab these ends and you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to start getting a good idea for what my tire looks like as it's wrapping. That's fine. You can put a little bit of a form on there. That's not going to change it. Once I duplicate this tread 3 times over, attach them all, and then put it on one large curve, it'll still work. Now it's just about coming in and making sure you have a really cool looking tread design of some kind. Now, I was pretty basic with this. It's a little boring in terms of the design. So when you look at it, first of all 3 rows are even. Boring, right? There's no angles in it, nothing like that. So it would be in my best interest if I want to come in here and start moving some shapes around. So watch, maybe I take that little end here, I'm going to take that end there. I'm going to grab the same thing over here on this side. Okay, I'm going to take that end. I'm going to come over here on that end. So maybe there's multiple sections inside other sections. I might expand that little tread out like that. Okay, and then maybe after it comes down, it goes over, and then maybe this one, instead of going out, maybe this one comes in like this. You know, maybe that's how the tread goes. Maybe after I do that, I decide, hey, I want to take these angles right in here. So that's 2 down. Let me come over here, 2 down, and then come back here, work reverse, 1, 2. That's here, and that's there. So now I might decide to move these up a little bit and move them over a little bit like that. There, do you see how I just made sort of a pretty unique tire tread right there? A different design. Okay, I'm just incorporating and moving vertices around. So now I might decide to come in here and be like, hey, this is sort of boring. Maybe I need to extrude another shape in here or pull it out. You know, you just decide. You keep playing with the treads and get something that starts to work. In fact, you can go the opposite way too. Look, see that tread I just made right there? I could select these big faces here, there, and there. Separate, right? Extrude. Bring this guy in a little bit that way. Bring this guy in a little bit this way. Extrude again and push them downward. Extrude again and bring them in a little bit like that. Okay. There, now I just did another type of tread. You see that? See how it's starting to look like something unique, something a little different? I'm not sticking with just squares on squares on squares. I'm gonna keep going into this and modifying it. But if I make a mistake, that's why I made 3 other pieces here. This guy might make another tread pattern that I like. In fact, I might come up with a whole different idea for tread. Okay, so the other ones I extruded downward. What else could I do in here? Maybe I decide to do this. What if I take that mark, all the marks that are not in the middle, like that, do the same thing to the other side. That one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, so they're all matching, right? I'm going to go to extrude right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude these shapes like this. A little bit more. I'm going to make a little secondary knobby, I guess you would call it. I'm going to extrude them in like that. And then I'm going to hit extrude again. And I'm going to bring it out and up. When I get out and up a little bit, uh-oh. I made a mistake there. Do you see what I did? I accidentally hit the W key and it pulled it off the 1. So now it's doing it from the center, which is fine. I just have to come in here really quick and select everything I did. So I was making a secondary knobby on those. Okay, so now that I have those selected, extrude again, pull that up, and then I'm going to make them smaller. And that's cool. You get this cool little like angle on it, right? Pull that up a little bit, like so. That's it. So now let's, take a look at what you have. That's pretty cool. I'm getting something totally different right there. I don't like those. I hate squares. You guys have heard me talk about that. I hate pure 90s, right? Just boring. You select all these here. Now, what I wanted to do was pinch some of these. The hard problem I'm going to have about pinching some is that it's going to scale from the middle. So sometimes making an adjustment with the face option is a little bit easier, because if I do it by face, well, it's going to do it by the middle too. Unless I extrude it, it'll focus on one. But what I thought about doing was just pinching these in a little bit. Let me see if I can get that to work out from one selection. If I just take these and go like this and pinch them in a little, I might have to finesse that end when I put it back together or extrude another edge, but that's fine. So that's working pretty good. Let me try that on this side here. Just grab all of these right here. Okay. Actually, what am I thinking? It should fit like a puzzle if I just extrude it like so. There we go. I can fix it other side. So there, now I changed that angle. What else could I do? I mean, it's just endless, right? I could move more points. I could even come in to something that I did and decide, you know what if I decide to move that off and out a little bit and make it more nobular that way? So using all these words, nobular, is that even a word? I don't know. So let me take, So I'm taking the end corner of those points and take the end corner of that point, end corner of that point. That's an end corner. And take that end corner right there. And that's it. That's not really, that's a space point. Oh, that's an end corner right there. Okay. What I was going to do, see what would happen if I did something like that. If I pop the tire out a little bit more. Starting to create this really cool offset pattern that's taking place, right? So let's keep going a little bit more here. Let me pause the demo just for a second and I'll keep going on this. Alright guys, welcome back. So look, here's the piece of tread that I created. Okay, that's the tread that I had. What I had to do is after I liked that for right now, I wanted to see what it would look like if I put it in one long strip. So what I did is I duplicated that and then I put it in front of itself like so. Now what happens when I go to merge these two together, most of these vertices are connecting. One of the problems I have is this little edge right here that's open. That's really easy. I can just select an edge right here like this. I can hit extrude to extrude that edge outward. After I extrude that edge outward, I can come over here, right click vertice. I can select that vertice point, delete it, grab this vertice, move it right along to that edge, and bam, you see that? So now, once I join those and combine them into one piece of geometry, I just go along here and combine all these together. So watch, if I were to hit Alt-C now, combine those into one piece of geometry. Uh-oh, I thought mine was going to crash there for a minute. Did that thing where you hit a command and nothing happens. I was like, there. So there, Alt-C, combine it one piece of mesh, and all I have to do now is go along, hit Alt-C, and my hotkey to merge vertices. Those are still a little far away. I should have moved that piece of geometry a little bit closer. But you get the idea. You got to, for any areas that are sort of not hitting each other, you got to fix that. But for most part, all the print and the pattern goes together. Now look, here's my finished tire. I went ahead and I already did that right here. I took the piece of tread. So instead of doing it 24 times, I only did it 8 times. Made a quick piece of tread. I pieced all 3 together. And look, I just put a deformer on it. So now, look at what happens. If I come over here, I grab that deformer, okay? And then I come over here, I go to bend, and then I look at the curvature. Now this is where your tire is going to change. As I go to curve that tire around and get it pretty close to hitting, you need to decide like, hey, that looks more like a steamroller tire, but it's a mining vehicle. Maybe you decide, you know what, I want more detail on my tire treads right now. So maybe that's not working for you. Put a smooth on. What does it look like in smooth? It looks very, looks like an ice cream maker or something weird, right? Doesn't look right. Bad piece of mesh, okay? So maybe I decide to leave it like this, but I'm realizing looking at it, that's not bad, but it could be better. I could have a lot more inner detail in here of tread. So what I do, I would Command Z, I would go back in here. I just would dump that right there. And I would go back over here to one of these, to my original, which is right there. And then I would go in and I realized, man, I need a lot more tread. So that's a little hint for some of you guys right now as you're working, is that when you're in here and you're adding in all this detail, you can see these open areas, if I click off of this, where there's no tread in there. you need to get some of that extra tread in there to get your tire to feel realistic and have it sort of come alive. So it's in your best interest to try to get lots of pieces of tread everywhere. So once you put that bend on it and you wrap that shape around, it'll come together, okay? But from this part, what you don't want to do is be working on that long piece like that. That's sort of a no-no, right? It's going to take a long time to get to that, okay? One thing that's pretty cool, though, watch, if I come back here, here, let me take the bend off, let me delete that deformer, is I've actually done this and had it work for myself, and you could do this without combining. What would happen if you duplicated the tread, all right? And since it was already set on 24, if I assign it to here, right? Now let's just say I'm going to speed through this. I'm not going to combine it and go merge all the vertices. Well, excuse me, I'm going to combine it, but I'm not going to merge all the vertices. But now I can quickly come on here, go back over to your deformers, right? I could say create deformer, and where was I? Nonlinear, and go back to bend. Let me rotate that bend at 90 degrees, okay? And you know, I'm a firm believer from my art background, especially when I work in Photoshop and paint, firm believer in what I call like happy accidents. When you create something design-wise you didn't mean to do, and then it ends up working for you. So now as I put a curvature on that, look at what happens when I curve that to make my tire. That looks pretty mean like that, having two rows. It actually almost looks like two sets of tires, right? So that's something else I could incorporate in part of my design process. So I might decide, hey, I might have this really beastie looking tire instead of just one. So if that's the direction that you want to go, all you have to do, you know, you have to get those ends to connect, and that's really easy to do. You just come back here to your poly deformer, right? What last time I thought it was 3.14. Let's try 4. Okay, it's a little bit more, so 3.1, I think 5 might do it. You can do 4, 5. See? Oops. Let's go back here. Let's put it at 5, see if that connects it. Nope. See, now Maya's getting really touchy on me. It's being a pain, so let's just go to, let's try 7. Almost, see? You gotta keep edging it together. And so let's jump up, let's go 9. Oh! But I can see it. It looks like to me like it's slightly overlapping. It is. You see the difference there? So what I can do now, go back to the bend deformer in my input selection under layer, right? It wasn't 3.9. It's going to be like 3.8. If I hit enter, there I can see it. Now put 3.18, put a 4 in there. And almost, let's go for a 6. That's what I like about mine and its measurements. Boom. Now I can see where that would connect. And that would basically be my tire. Once that's done, everything's connected. You can come back. Remember I told you about the selection? I can come back here, right click on it, go to edge, and I could say select edge loop, and Maya will go in and select that whole entire edge loop. Then I can make the wall to my tire, and so on. So, I mean, take the opportunity to go in. So what I would highly recommend, if you go back to our blog site, right? Not that, that's the character design site. So if we come back over, go over to Dart 106, okay? If you come back here and we look, come back in here, take a look at some of the other models people have done, look at their treads, look at their design sensibilities, see what is inspiring you. I mean, this guy just did something really simple on the edge. See what he did? He rounded the edge of the tire. Instead of working with it flat, he sort of rounded it, which you could have even put a bend in the middle of it, right? You could have put a non-linear deformer going in the opposite direction of the x-axis and then put a little bit of bend in the tire before you then wrap it around. Okay, look at those tires. If you want something like that, you're going to have a really thick modular knobby in your section. So here I'm going to step away. Here, actually, here I'll do this in the Sketchbook Pro real quick. Okay, so if I was going to make that knobby, if I was a modeler on a show and I had to make that, close application, Sketchbook Pro, close this. I would come and take a look at that. Come on, where's Sketchbook? Where'd it go? I would take a look at that knobby and then I would draw it out, and this is what's going to be really helpful for you, is that when I just looked at that, it had a huge knobby that came out like this, right? First, and then it had a smaller knobby, and then it had another smaller knobby, right? So right there, my intersections, 1, 2, 3, and then just a 4. So I might not need to have a ton of vertices going across. Do you see that? So if I minimize that and I come back and I look, that's one long one, one in the middle, one long one. So that's it. So the artist that did this, instead of working when I was doing my tire tread, okay, I was working, I'm going to go back to this piece of tread here. I was working going in this direction. Well, what if I create a path going this direction, right? That's an option. I can still go into there. What if I take a bunch of my vertices? Remember, we were just working off of a base plate, right? Here's my base plate. Boom, right there. So now I might decide to change based off of looking at my reference. I might decide that, hey, maybe I want to come in here. What if I put a deformer in there? So let's do what that other guy just did really quick. Let's come over here, go to nonlinear deformers. I might put a bend in here. Okay, let me rotate it this way first. Okay, bends are great, or I should say nonlinear deformers are great, because I can use them to help me model. So if I go to curvature now, and uh-oh, that's going the wrong way. So what I have to do is I have to rotate that bend deformer 90 degrees in the opposite direction. Now when I come under the curvature setting, I go to do it, voila. See that? I put a nice, simple, easy bend there. I like that. I select the object. I'm using my hotkeys. Hit it by type, delete the history. Now it retains its shape. Okay? So then, then I might decide to go across. So before, looking at that other large shape, what if I do something like this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to do those, and then do those, and those. Okay? Let's do one more just because I like prime numbers. Prime numbers are always better for designing. Okay? So I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to extrude those out, maybe a little bit like that. Maybe I extrude again to make sure I'm getting a nice hard edge in there. Maybe do one more extrusion, bring it out a little bit more, get out to about there. I'm going to extrude that. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then what I'm going to do is scale it in just a little bit, extrude again, so I get a nice hard edge on there. Now, go back and look at what it looks like in your loose form. Decide which one you like better. I want to zigzag a little bit. I don't want it going straight. Why? Straight's boring. Okay, so I'm going to grab all of these right here, that whole row. Oh, these two. Okay, and now I'm going to pull them this way and offset them a little bit like this. Now by offsetting them, can you see when I duplicate that tread, what's 3 times 8? 24. So 3 more duplications of that, merge it all together, wrap it with a deformer, it'll come into work. So maybe I need to do that. And then see what else I can do. Again, it just takes some time. You have to look at reference, and you have to find something that's really working that's cool. What if I had an idea. It won't let me do it. Let's do every other 2. Let's see, that won't work either. It has to start 2, skip 1. No, that won't work either. So you have to just find a patterning that'll work. Let's do these real quick. Now here's a cool little tip that can help you out, right? I'm going to go to extrude right now. When I go to extrude these, what is it doing? It's keeping the faces together, right? So if I come back over here, I go under, let's go back to the polygon submenu. Okay, come down into edit mesh. I go to extrude. There used to be an easier, oh there it is. Keep faces together. Do you see that? If I click off of that right now, boom. Okay, let's see if it did it. Nope, it didn't do it. So I got to go back to before I extruded, which was there. Now I'm going to come back up to edit mesh. That's off. Now I'm going to tell it to extrude. And what's cool about that is it's going to adjust one. Watch right here. See that? So by taking the extrude face option off, allows me now to extrude multiple faces. And then I can come up with some really unique tread designs like that. So look, that's pretty cool, right? However, though, I realized I should have done it there. So go 1, 1, 1, and then skip 1 at the end. So let me back up completely. It's easy to make a mistake, right? Extrude. Now let's pull that out. Okay. Let's pinch that guy off a little bit. Pinch that guy a little bit like so. There we go. That's cool. Now I might decide to come in here. I'm going to extrude that as one piece. So come back over here. Let's go back into edit mesh, put faces together on. And now when I extrude, that's going to be one piece of mesh coming out, which is cool. it just changed part of the pattern that's happening. Like that. Like that. And then I click off of it. See how neat that looks? I have two individual segments with a one big fat segment. And then I might come back into those. And extrude again. This time I might bring them together like this. Hit extrude, bring it downward. A little bit more like that, like that. That's it. And just extrude one more time to put another little line in there. So I have a nice edge in there. There we go. Okay, so there. Now I created a different pattern. So imagine if I connect all those 8 up and I go back and I look at my reference. Reference is key, right? I'm going to start getting something similar. I have some other angles in there to adjust. If I really want to get those angles inside my model, it's just as simple as me coming back, looking at the piece of geometry I'm working on, and realizing like, hey, I need to pinch something right in here. So I want this little corner to come out like a little crease. So if I go to insert edge loop, I can come along here. I can touch the middle segment. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've now inserted those. You know what? Hold on. That one was a little off. I wasn't paying attention. Try to get that right smack dab there. That's pretty good. Right in the middle there. Bam. So now that I have those on, that allows me to come in, take those vertices and manipulate them. So I can grab those vertices. Oops, not those. Those vertices, and those vertices. Okay? And then I can now pull them out like that. See that? Created a totally different look to my tread. And I'm just going to keep going. Actually, now I'm thinking of doing them both in the opposite directions as well. See if that gives me something very cool. There. So now I'm just going to use the scale tool and use the scale to pile them out. See that? That's cool. It's another type of look. So I could keep going with this, right? Heck, if I wanted to, I could even, it's one piece of mesh, right? One piece of geometry. Now I did put a little bit of a bend on it. If I wanted to, I could technically do something like this. I could take that, duplicate that mesh, bring it over here. I could inverse that mesh, so put it on -1 on scale Z, right? I flip it back this way. And now I can combine, oops, hold on a minute. It was -6.24. So here, -624. Oops, hold on. I missed the decimal point. 0.624. Boom. That's the same identical piece. I could take those now. What could I do, Tony? I could just merge those together. One piece of geometry, merge all the vertices. And now I have a whole nother, see how I just saved myself time? Now I have a cool piece of tread that's also going in the opposite direction. So I could take that, put all 8 together. Don't merge them all, bend them first and see what it looks like. If you're liking the way the tread works. If you do this, you spend about, 40 minutes into the demo, right? I was trying to show you guys a little bit of secrets on do's and don'ts, but if I were to attack this, first thing I would do is look at reference. I would try to mimic that reference the best way that I could, and then come up with this cool design, put them together, wrap. I mean, that's actually looking pretty cool. Let's just see what happens. Let's say I group that right now. Whoa. What did see that? Just got rid of all my tool sets. Huh? What did I don't think I hit anything. That's so weird. I mean, it's still there. I can tell them to come back. But anyway, yeah, I want them back. Let's go back. That's our, what a trip. UI elements, status line, display UI elements. Give me my shelf back. Display UI elements. Let's give my tool settings back. There we go. And then just close that. Let's just get our, there we go. I like having that open there. That was a trip. Anyway, so now that I have that open, let's get that smaller. Now watch, if I duplicate that, so that's, put it there, Shift D again, oops, duplicate it again. Now I want to see what that's going to look like as a tire. Okay, so that's 3, remember there are sections of 8, right? So that's 24. So if I even want to try it again, go for it. Get that, and I'm going to take all those right there. Let's go back up under animation submenu, go over to create deformers, and let's put that nonlinear on it again. Bend. Actually, let's just see which way it's. No, it's not doing it the way I want to, so I need to rotate that 90 at least. There we go. So negative 90. Now I can come over to curve. Look at that. That's pretty cool. It's a different type of tread. So I can be more aggressive in there. You see what I'm getting at, you guys? Get aggressive with that tread. I mean, it's up to you. You guys are making different vehicles. You guys are the designers on this. So just look at your reference. You know, that's actually somewhat cool. I'm imagining this rounded sidewall, and then I could still come in here and select middle parts of that and expand it or whatever. But what I probably wouldn't do on this is, you know, let me see how many steps I can go back. I duplicated that very quickly, and I don't like the way that there's a dip in the middle there. I wouldn't do that if I was working at home. I would keep it nice and rounded, okay? So I might, ungroup, sorry. So I would keep it rounded like that, just the way it is. And then I might just add some other elements to it. I might decide to stretch it. Everything applies that I've already showed you guys, you know. I mean, don't forget, you have all these cool little options you can do. I mean, you can come in here, we can stretch that out real quick, right? You have lots of little curves in there. What would happen if we came back under a different deformer, right? Create deformers, nonlinear. What if we put a sign on there? Hold on, let's rotate that sign this way. Oops. Let's get it down to 90. Okay, negative 90. And then if I come back in, inputs under sign, amplitude. You might create something like that and piece them all together. It's sort of endless. But what about the wavelength? Yeah. No, that's too much. Not enough geometry in there. But point being that I could use some of the deformers, I can use these things to my discretion. I could create some really interesting patterns, okay? Have fun with it, but I highly would recommend to you just the end part of this demo. I mean, I actually like that quite a bit. I could have some fun with that, depending on the wheel thickness and then the rim that I get in there. What I should do is I'll do another demo later this week or maybe next week on making the rim. Because there's a couple different ways. We can start with a poly or we can start with a NURB typology, and there's even what's called sub-Ds, and there's a couple different ways you can make some really cool shapes for rims, and it's just doing some base extrusions with lightweight polys or moving into NURBs and creating some really cool stuff, okay? That's going to add a lot to your vehicle. The one thing you're going to notice, I got to mention this from my art, from an art perspective as a designer, when I come back here, look at the weight of the wheels and the thickness of the wheels and the rims. The wheels, the rims, look at those huge, massive brake calipers in there. Okay, I had a student one year that made a vehicle. Look at that thing. Look at how beastly those treads are. Okay, I had a student that made a vehicle one year, and it was a giant tank, and it had wheels the size of pennies. Huh? Was it Aaron that did that? And I was like, dude, the vehicle, like those wheels are so small they would all pop. You can't do that. You have to have massive wheels on there that fits the massive physical features of the vehicle. There's certain occasions where you can get away with it, but something lightweight that has cool tread on it, okay? So have fun with it. Dive in there, look at that. You could easily come up with something cool like that. All right? Remember, what's half of 8? 4. So technically, you can make a tread pattern in 4 segments, add it to 8, duplicate that 3 times, put it at 24, wrap around and touch them with a deformer, and they'll meet perfectly in the middle. And technically, half of 4 is 2. So all you really have to do is start with a chunk that's 2 by whatever, make a cool tread, duplicate that, duplicate it again, add it out. Next thing you know, you have a cool piece of tire tread that's wrapping around your vehicle. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop the demo right here.